Imagine coming home late at night, exhausted, thinking only about the comfort of your own apartment. The building is quiet. The elevator rises slowly. When the doors open, you're greeted by a long, dimly lit hallway, with lights that never seem strong enough to fully push back the darkness. You take your first step. The sound echoes. And then you feel it, as if someone is there, standing still, watching. You look toward the end of the hallway. There's nothing there, just shadows cast by old fluorescent lights. You take a deep breath and tell yourself it's just exhaustion, stress, your imagination. But what if it isn't? What if that presence isn't something your mind created, but something real, something that chose that specific hallway to wait? Today, you're going to hear the story of a young woman who began noticing a motionless silhouette near the emergency stairwell of the building where she lived. At first it seemed like coincidence, then it felt like paranoia, until it stopped feeling like either. And when she finally decided not to look away, she realized she might never have been alone. The story happened to Laura, a 23-year-old architecture graduate who had just landed her first job at a small firm downtown. The pay wasn't great, but it was enough for her to move out of her parents' house and rent her first apartment. The building was on a quiet street, slightly removed from the main avenues. It wasn't new, but it didn't look abandoned either. 5 floors, narrow hallways, an emergency stairwell at the end of each level. The lighting came from old fluorescent fixtures that occasionally flickered before settling. Laura lived on the 4th floor. Her routine quickly became predictable. She left early in the morning, spent the day at work, and usually returned after 10 at night. The elevator was slow, so she often rode up alone, listening to the low mechanical hum before stepping out into the hallway that led to apartment 407. At first, everything felt normal, maybe too quiet, but nothing unusual for a building with only a few long-term residents. She even liked the stillness. It felt like the outside world disappeared the moment the elevator doors closed. It was during the 3rd week that something changed. One particularly exhausting night, as the elevator doors opened, she hesitated before stepping out. She didn't see anything unusual. She didn't hear anything out of place, but something felt different, a subtle, instinctive sensation that the hallway wasn't as empty as it seemed. She ignored it and kept walking. That night, as she moved down the hallway trying to shake off the unease, the cold floor reflected the pale overhead light in uneven patches along the walls. She was halfway to her door when she instinctively looked up. That's when she saw it, near the emergency stairwell door at the far end of the hall. Something looked off. Not a clear shape, not defined edges, just darker, as if the light refused to touch that particular space. Laura slowed down. She blinked. The darker patch didn't move. Her heart started beating faster, not out of immediate fear, but confusion. She tilted her head slightly, adjusting her angle of view. At that exact moment, the light above her flickered with a sharp crack. When it stabilized, the end of the hallway looked completely normal. Empty. She let out a nervous laugh. Maybe it was just contrast. Maybe she was more tired than she thought. She'd worked late 3 nights in a row. It was natural for the mind to play tricks. But in the days that followed, the feeling returned, and this time, it wasn't just a vague patch of darkness. When she stepped out of the elevator again, she noticed the darker area near the stairwell. Only now, there was a clearer sense of vertical form, as if something was standing there. Still. She froze for 2 seconds. That felt much longer. The hallway was unnaturally silent. No doors opening, no television sounds, no footsteps. The silhouette remained, and even without seeing a face, Laura had the unmistakable sensation that it was watching her. She took a step forward, and the shadow seemed to shift, almost as if it had pulled back deeper into the darkness. After that second night, Laura began paying attention to every detail of the hallway. What had once been a simple passage became a place of anticipation. Every time the elevator rose to the 4th floor, her stomach tightened slightly, as if her body already knew something was waiting outside. And often, there was. The silhouette appeared near the emergency stairwell with disturbing regularity. Not every night, but often enough to stop feeling random. Sometimes it was just a heavier distortion in the shadows. Other times, it was clearly the outline of something tall and unmoving. All was still, always in the same place. Laura started testing it. One night, she stepped out of the elevator suddenly, trying to catch whatever it was off guard. The shadow was there. Another night, she stayed inside the elevator for a few seconds before the doors closed. watching through the narrowing gap. Nothing moved. She changed her schedule, came home earlier one day, later the next. The presence remained unpredictable, but constant. The most disturbing moment happened on a Thursday. She decided to walk slowly, deliberately dragging her steps. The sound echoed through the empty hallway. The silhouette seemed more defined that night, as if the lack of noise sharpened its presence. Laura slowed even more. That's when she clearly felt it move. Not a full step, not a sudden motion, just a subtle adjustment, like someone realizing they were being watched and trying to conceal themselves better. Her heart pounded. Heat rushed up her neck. Her palms began to sweat. For a second, she considered running, but something, pride, maybe denial, made her keep walking. When she was only a few feet from the stairwell, the hallway light flickered again, and in that brief moment of darkness, Laura was certain she wasn't looking at a trick of the light. There was height, there were shoulders, there was shape. When the light came back, the space was empty. That night, she barely slept, and for the first time, she began to wonder if whatever this wasn't just in the hallway but inside her. After another sleepless night, Laura decided she needed answers. If someone else had seen it, then it couldn't just be her imagination. The next day, she approached the building manager, Renato, who proudly maintained the security system. The cameras run all the time, he assured her. If someone's there, it'll be recorded. They reviewed the footage in the small management office. The screen showed the fourth-floor hallway clearly, including the emergency stairwell door. In one recording, Laura stepped out of the elevator and paused, staring at the end of the hallway. But the footage showed nothing. Empty. In another clip, she leaned forward slightly, as if focusing on someone. Still, nothing. Watching her own reaction, without any visible cause, unsettled her more than the shadow itself. Then they opened the footage from Thursday, the night the light flickered. As the bulb failed for a split second. The video, glitched. Renato paused. In the corner of the screen, for a fraction of a second, something darker than the surrounding shadows appeared. It had no clear shape, but it didn't look like simple digital noise either. Frame by frame, it vanished. Probably a sensor glitch, Renato said quickly. But Laura knew what she'd seen, and for the first time, she felt like the camera had seen it too. The following night, she decided not to run. When the elevator doors opened, she stood still as they closed behind her with a metallic click. The hallway was quiet, and there it was, clearer than before. Standing beside the emergency stairwell door, her heart pounded in her ears. Her hands trembled, but she walked forward. Step by step. The figure didn't disappear. The closer she got, the heavier the air felt. When she was only a few feet away, the light flickered. Once, twice, end. In the brief darkness, she saw it clearly. A tall man, broad shoulders, head slightly tilted, as if studying her. No face, just deeper darkness where a face should be. She couldn't breathe. Then the light stabilized. The hallway was empty, but this time, she knew something had been there. After that night, everything changed. She stopped coming home late. She double-checked her locks. She woke up in the middle of the night, convinced someone was outside her door. 2 weeks later, she moved. On her last day, she refused to look down the hallway. When the elevator doors closed, she felt relief. But relief isn't the same as certainty. Months later, she returned to the building out of curiosity. In the lobby, she met the new tenant of apartment 407. "Do you like it there?" Laura asked. "It's fine," the woman replied. "Though the hallway feels strange at night." Laura's stomach tightened. Strange how? The woman hesitated, like someone standing near the stairwell. Silence. Sometimes it looks like a tall man, just standing there. Days later, Laura learned that the fourth-floor emergency stairwell had been sealed off for structural reasons more than 2 years earlier. No one should have been able to stand there. Don't want at all. Stories like this usually split people into two groups: those who search for logical explanations and those who accept that some things don't fit logic. But maybe the most disturbing part isn't what was in the hallway, it's that she felt it. Instinct doesn't trigger without reason. How many times have you walked through an empty space and felt like you weren't alone? How many times did you ignore it? Maybe it was nothing, or maybe you just chose not to look long enough. Next time you walk down a silent hallway, pay attention. Not every shadow is just the absence of light. Some of them wait, and you may not realize it until it's too late.